What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's happening with the charts thus far, and some very important levels to watch for on SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and many tickers out there. But let me first say that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So anyways, let's talk about the market. Let's talk about how things are looking. Right now, we had a very, very boring day for SPY again. This thing was just trading sideways, back and forth for the first couple of hours. Then we started to uptrend a little bit for about 2 hours, hitting 455.5. Now we're coming right back down to 455, going back and forth and back and forth. Very, very boring. Something similar is happening with the QQQ. QQQ is kind of flat for the most part, a little bit stronger than SPY. Very flat for the first couple of hours. And we got a nice push up since then. Now it's starting to cool off a bit, but very sideways range bound price action overall. Tesla is showing some strength as it's up 0.65%, and the QQQ managed to hold up thanks to Nvda. Nvda is actually helping the market to some extent. But once again, guys, Nvidia is not ripping extremely hard. It's only up about 1%. And we're going to be watching some key levels on all these different stocks, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. Let's first go over some data. So I just want to remind you all that for today, we had the building permits data coming out. This was very close to expectations. New home sales, however, were kind of lower than what the expectation was. And besides that, it didn't really affect the market that much. The manufacturing index did actually lead to a little pump, but there was just nothing too crazy, to be honest with you, nothing too insane. For tomorrow, we have the house price index coming out and consumer confidence with more Fed speakers. Consumer confidence is going to be one of the most important pieces of data at 10 o'clock a.m. Besides that, there's not really much else coming out for tomorrow. But Wednesday through Friday are going to be when things become more significant, because don't forget Fridays when we have Jerome Powell giving a speech. Now, right now, the Dow is kind of flat. They're saying that the rally has paused. I wouldn't necessarily make that call in general for the market. Maybe for the Dow, you could say that. But we have to see how things close first. We have to be a little bit more patient, and we'll see how things go. But with headlines like this coming out, it's just adding to even more boring price action, not really driving more excitement amongst investors. Now, why is the market so boring? Well, the answer is, if you look at SPY, we actually have about 200 plus thousand puts expiring, and the market makers are not letting the market sink insanely hard because of this. They're just causing it to chop, which is holding a lot of these different options traders, especially with the 0 day to expiration options in different positions. And then when you look at the overall strikes on SPY, you'll notice that the 455 strike has high volume. This is like an area of interest, and the open interest increased by 5,500. So this shows that this is where the interest is for the call side, 455 to 456. On the put side, you will notice that there's a high increase in open interest for the 454 and 455 strikes. And on top of that, the volume is very high for those. So that's where the interest is. So once again, it's all correlating with that 455 area, which is where we're just chopping around, which tells me that the market's likely not going to just tank or rally super hard to close. We're likely just going to be range bound as time goes on, unfortunately. Now, could the market sell off in the future? Yes, I think that's still on the table. I think it's very probable. But right now, there's no confirmation yet. And remember in the morning when I called out, I said, look at the 4-hour time frame on SPY, and then watch our pre-market low, which aligns with the 20 EMA. We have to break below the 20 EMA to turn more bearish. It failed to do that. It's just going back and forth and back and forth. So there's no confirmation or breakdown just yet. But don't forget, we still have this rising wedge pattern right over here that's still technically valid. But simultaneously, as we pumped, we could also be forming this channel right here, which could be leading to a flag. So for now, the best thing I could tell you is that SPY is technically on a slight downtrend. We've been going back and forth like this in this channel. We might just continue to do this, and you can see this on the hourly if you want to look carefully. It might just continue to do this for the next couple of days, and we'll see if excuse me, if we get some kind of breakout like this for a final top, or if the move fails and we just end up collapsing like this. We need to break below 452 to turn more bearish. We have to break above 456.5 to turn a bit more bullish. Thus far, we've been shopping, going back and forth and back and forth. There's no sign of us breaking up or breaking down. The best thing to do is just be patient and see which way we break. For now, we're just trading sideways, and it's very boring. I think we're just going to continue to do this on SPY, unfortunately. On the QQQ, it's kind of similar. I mean, we're just trading flat right now. We're still range bound. So we have this resistance at 391. And we have our support at 388. If we lose 388, this thing's going to start sinking towards 386. If that fails us, then 383 or to 384 is next. So with this you could interpret this as like a head and shoulders on the QQQ, but I'm not gonna like count on that to play out because there's so much trickery in this market. But if this ends up being the case, okay, we could be anticipating some downside on the QQQ off this possible head and shoulders. But it depends on if we get this break. We need to see this lose 386.5. If that's the case, expect it to come down to 383 all over again. As of right now, it hasn't done that, but we could be forming a right shoulder right now. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. So I'm going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. I think that looking at supply and demand is one of the most like important ways to determine direction and also how the market's holding up. So we're going to be watching this support here. Do we end up breaking below this for the head and shoulders to play out, or do we continue to chop? As of right now, we're kind of sideways, so we'll just have to wait and see. And I think that it may just remain sideways for now, but we'll be watching this going into tomorrow. On Nvda, all right, Nvda looking kind of decent right now, trying to break to the upside, but we're not able to break 485 thus far. So you just want to be a little careful with Nvda. And one could still argue that this thing is downtrending. There's no sign that this thing is ready to break out yet. We're continuing to make lower highs and lower lows because we weren't able to break this wick. We didn't see Nvidia break and hold above 490. So technically speaking, this is on a downtrend. And with that being the case, if we get some kind of rejection here, and this thing breaks over the next few days, you're going to be watching the support very close to 474. If we lose that, it's going to be sinking to 468. This is looking, the overall trend is still bearish. We're still making lower highs and lower lows on Nvidia. So I'm not seeing proof that this thing is ready to bounce yet. Now, if this thing rejects and we end up like bouncing off like 480, then we start to push up higher and we break this high. I want to see it break this high right here, 490. Then this thing can start pushing back up towards this imbalance to 500. As of right now, I'm not really going to count on it to do that. I'm just going to be waiting to see. And it still is technically bearish until we see things flip. Hasn't done so just yet. On Aapl is very flat. It's retesting this 190 area. We were talking about this thing potentially trying to like retest, but notice how it's rejecting off 190.5. We're just barely holding 190. So we'll be watching to see if this thing can close where it currently is. We had this resistance trend line right here. We just broke above it, so it looks like it's trying to make its way back towards it. But all that matters today is 190. Does Aapl close above 190? If we close below it, there's going to be more potential for it to continue to downtrend, make its way back down to 188. Or do we end up breaking and holding 190? Because if it holds 190, there's going to be some hope for bulls. And we have this imbalance like up here, which could like, it could just bounce and start pushing higher. As of right now, it all depends on 190, so we'll just see where it closes because, and the reason why I'm saying that is because when you look at Aapl on the 5-minute time frame, it's very boring, not really doing a whole lot. It kind of popped a bit. We have like kind of like a head and shoulders up here, which is looking a bit more bearish, but there's not really a whole lot going on with this chart. It's been stuck between 189 and 190. That's like a 1 point difference within this range, a little bit more than that, but it's just sideways, stuck in a range, very boring. Not much is going on. And last but not least, I think the biggest thing on most people's minds is Tesla. How is Tesla looking? In my opinion, it's showing some strength. But I told you to watch that 238 resistance. So let me show you Tesla. In order for this thing to break out, we had to break this high and try to get above 238. You could see that Tesla kind of got stopped at this resistance. It wasn't really able to break out quite yet. And now this thing's kind of stalling just a little bit. So we're going to be watching to see if Tesla manages to break out or not. I think Tesla's going to eventually break 238 and push up for at least 242. But we need to see a break first for us to turn super bullish. My prediction about how this would move was actually pretty close. I told you we might see Tesla just be range bound for now with some upside. But in the future, I could see Tesla eventually breaking up to 242. Just might take some time. Now, if the market truly does start to sell off as we have a possible head and shoulders on the QQQ, Nvidia is not looking the strongest to me, at least as of right now it is. And things could still change. But I'm just saying like right now, the market could act as an anchor for Tesla and make it harder for Tesla to get a big break to like 250, 260. It's harder for Tesla to get like that if the whole market is kind of like shopping. It's like not as strong. So it's going to be very important to pay attention to the market in context to this. For now, watch Tesla right over here. Watch this support around 236.25. If we lose this, it's going to come down to 235. Then we have 232 below that. I think it's just going to chop and maybe close very close to where we are. Remain kind of sideways, may continue for some time before we see some upside. We want to see it break and hold 238. And if it manages to achieve that, I think it's going to be shooting up for about 242. As of right now, it hasn't done that, so we'll just have to wait and see. But that's what I have for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope this video was helpful. And don't forget to watch your levels. Be very patient because today may not be the most fun day for the markets, but just know there are still some signals that suggest that there could be some downside in the future. Okay? It doesn't mean it has to happen now. It doesn't mean the market has to start sinking immediately. It could take some time for them to develop because of the options chain, but just watch your levels, be patient, and do what you have to do, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.